Hello, my name is Jim Shelley, Persimmon Hill Calls, LLC, located here in Elgin, South Carolina. Today is Sunday, February the 21st, 2010, and I'm out in my barn, my shop, where I spend a lot of my time, especially this time of the year, getting ready for the upcoming spring turkey season, opening up in about 3 weeks down in the low country, and April the 1st here in Kershaw County. But like you guys and gals, I'm really excited and looking forward to opening day. I've been asked by several of my customers, many of which are novice hunters, first-time turkey hunters, to do a little DVD video on how to use the different types of turkey calls. I'm sure there's others out there that you can buy, made by some really reputable companies, but you know, I want to do this for my customers, and I do have a lot of them, faithful followers, and for that I'm really appreciative. But before I start, I just want to give all the glory and success that I've endured over the past 30 or 40 years to our Savior, Jesus Christ, who we owe everything to. And we're so blessed with the wild turkey and the support of the National Wild Turkey Federation, all the work that they do to make sure that we have plenty of wild turkeys here in the United States. If you think back 40, 50 years ago, they were almost extinct, and now there's just millions of wild turkeys here. But God is great, and I worship Him and I love Him, and I know that He sent His Son to die for our sins, and that was something that had to be really hard to do. But anyway, I just want to take a few minutes, hopefully keep this as short as I can, and go through the different calls that I sell, that many other people sell, and just teach you the basics, how to use a slate call, a glass call, and a box call, and mouth call, and push button, and we'll just take a couple of minutes and go through each one, because there are ways that you have to hold the calls and the amount of pressure and all that stuff. So we'll just get right into it, okay? The call that most people really love a lot, and it's one of my biggest sellers, and it's the second call that I used whenever I started turkey hunting. Of course, the first call I ever used was the box call. First turkey I ever killed was with a Lynch 101 box call, and that was, oh my goodness, I think 1981, 1982. But this is the slate call, slate over glass that I make here, and I've been very fortunate. This call's done really well in the competition. But the one thing for you to remember is when you're using a slate call is make sure that you limit the contact with your skin, because moisture is absorbed into the slate and could affect the sound of the striker whenever you're playing the call. So my calls, I have them contoured just a little bit, just so that they can fit really snug and tight right in your hand. You got to be careful not to cover up your holes in the bottom, because that's exactly what your sound vibrates through, is the holes in the bottom of the call. So grab it very comfortable with your left or right hand, and you don't have to squeeze it like you're going to choke it to death. Just very comfortable, and always keep it fairly level with the farther side of it dipped away from you just slightly. And then with your striker, all you do is place your striker tip on top, again limiting the contact on the slate. Place your striker right on the edge of the slate. A lot of calls play differently depending on where on the surface you play. My calls are fairly consistent, most of them are that's out there. But just barely touch the top of the top of the playing surface, the slate. Again, this is over glass, so you're going to get a pretty good sound out of it. And the first thing you want to do is just real lightly place it against the slate and pull it to you. And as you can see, I'm applying very little pressure at all, barely making contact with the slate, and I'm pulling it to me. And as you can see, I'm tilting it away from me. This is the head of the striker. This is called the striker head, the striker tip. Slightly pointing away from you, and just pull it to you. And that's actually the purr. which is a content sound of a hen feeding. So again, just barely touch, pull it to you, and that's the purr. That's a really good call to use in the woods, especially during the mating season when that gobbler purr. He really can't stand that. It drives him crazy. All right, and the next call you can make on here is the yelp, which is 95% of what I use and most turkey hunters use in the woods. And it goes something like this. Now, again, the striker head tipped and pointing away from you. The friction call slightly tilted, pointing away from you. And again, a lot of people, especially beginners, novice people, they can just pull it to you, keeping your striker tip on the surface at all times. Never pick it up. Back and forth real quick. Medium pressure, not a whole lot of pressure, but more than you would with a purr. Purr. Now the way you really make a yelp is circular motions. Again, the edge of your hand right on the edge of the friction call. Striker tip against the surface, medium pressure, and go in circle. 4 or 5. Again, all I'm doing is going in circles. What's important, and people, especially novice, they tend to want to pick this striker tip up off the surface in between yelps or in between cuts, purrs, or whatever. Always keep it on the striker surface. Again, striker tip, head pointing slightly away from you, medium pressure, and go in circles. So now you can mix a purr, all right, that's your yelp. Again, that's 95% of what you'll be using in the turkey woods. And then of course you got the cut, and the cut again is very simple. Striker tip down on the playing surface, but you're going to use a little more pressure than you do with the yelp or with the purr. So you're going from light with the purr, medium with the yelp, to pretty heavy pressure with the cut. And you're only going to move it, pull it towards you about 1/8 of an inch, and it'll sound something like this. And all I'm doing is picking up my speed. I'll do 3 or 4 sharp cuts. And I'm applying a lot of pressure. All right, so you could do the varying sounds would go like this: the purr, that just depends on how aggressive you want to get. Loud, this thing will play fairly loud. So it's a really good call. It's easy to master. You just got to practice a lot. Okay. Now, another thing you need to do is carry a little bit of scouring pad. I give one of these away when I sell my calls, and I'll be out at the Sportsman's Classic in about 6 weeks, March 26th, 27th, 28th at the fairground. All you do is take this a little bit, blow the dust away. You can't use this call in the rain. What I do is I'll take a gallon trash bag with me, and if it's rain or misting rain or a damp morning, I'll put this inside of the gallon trash bag, and I'll use it just like I was just showing you. Again, purr, and one last thing I'll show you before we move on is the fly down cackle. In the morning, if you know that you've got one roosted and you know, hopefully there's not a hen with him, but you're going to be that hen. What you can do is what we call a fly down cackle. Early in the morning, the way a hen will do is she'll start moving on the limb, and she'll do some really soft yelping. If there's any leaves beside you, you can rustle the leaves too. And when a hen flies down off the roost, this is sort of what the noise that she'll make. That's sort of a fly down cackle. She gets on the ground, she starts feeding, she starts purring. That's the slate call. That is a great call. Probably, if you talk to turkey hunters, probably 75% of them will say that's probably their favorite call. Glass call, the technique, everything is the same. Okay, but let me tell you about a glass call. Again, it's glass over glass. This is actually a walnut and yellow heart, which I found to be a great combination for a glass call. And but you got to break the surface on that. What I mean by breaking the surface is you need to take a diamond edge and actually scrub the glass and rough it up in one area. For those of you that's bought glass or crystal calls from me, you'll know that I usually do it right at the turkey tail and at the PER and persimmon. Just seems to be a real good surface area there. So you scrub it up, blow it off, and then you can take a piece of scouring pad because you want that dust out of there, or you can use a piece of drywall patch, which is about, I guess, about 80 grit, and then you can push it in one direction and blow it. And it plays the same identical way. Your grip's the same way. I'm playing a one-piece striker. I was playing a two-piece striker with the slate. Same technique. Pointing away from you, downward, tilted slightly away from you. Striker head, tilted away from you. Never lose contact with the surface. And this is actually a great call right here. And what you'll want to pay attention to is listen to the rollover, the high-low, as far as yelping. Again, the purr, slight, just a tad. Glass calls are louder than slate calls, and they're really good. And this is what I use when it's real windy. The sound to carry a long way. Makes a great purr. Very light pressure. I'm just barely touching it. Now your yelp. You hear that light, high to low? That's called rollover. And that's, I've been very fortunate, and without the Lord I couldn't have done this, but that's why I've been blessed to win a few awards with my calls, is because of the rollover, the pitch. And if you listen to a hen in the turkey woods, that's what you hear. Cutting's the same way. You're going from light purr, medium, yelping to very heavy pressure when you're trying to cut. Again, striker head tilted. It's all about the pressure. You got to stay on the area where you broke the glass or scratched the glass, because if you get over here, you're not going to get any sound. So stay here. That's a fine turkey call. I don't think I'm going to sell that one. I think I'm going to put that one in my vest. I just made this probably 3 or 4 days ago. And again, there's aluminum call. I like aluminum. Killed a lot of birds with aluminum. Plays identical the same as the slate and the glass as far as holding it. We'll go to one of my favorite birch Purple Heart two-piece strikers that I sell. This is what, if you buy a call from me, this is the friction call. This is the one striker that you get. Same technique. A head away from you. Very little pressure. Great rollover on this aluminum call. Purr, real light. That's the aluminum call. It's a great call. So that's the friction calls. Again, all of them are made right here. I start out with a rough cut piece of lumber, and this is what I end up with. I'm very proud of, very proud of my my calls. Box call. If someone tells me, well,